So now that myself as well as other content creators came out to trash chunky soup eating Jason Fatlock, as well as Stephen A. Snitch and Malika Andrews, now they want to speak on things. But the fact of the matter is this story is an old story. It's been out for a year. So they had plenty of time to speak about it. But why did the NBA and the media outlets avoid speaking on the situation? We all know, because Josh Giddey is a Caucasian player in the NBA, and they're going to protect that. So all y'all clown-ass media pundits that want to come out and speak on it now, y'all just look even more like clowns. So here's Jason Whitlock, who wants to finally speak on the matter because really he got pressured. Let's just keep it real. He got pressured. So thanks to all the content creators as well as myself, because when we keep this going, oh, trust me, they listening, because now they're all trying to come out and speak on it in some kind of way. So here I have Jason Fatlock making an attempt to speak on the Josh Giddey situation. And following that video, you'll have Stephen A. Snitch with his attempt to degrade Bryant, because Bryant came out and spoke on the obvious. Everybody knows about Malika Andrews, but somehow Stephen A. Smith wants to defend her. So with no further ado, here's chunky soup eating Jason Fatlock, followed by Stephen A. Snitch. Welcome to SmashDaLikeTV.
We've got a new What About Brett Favre. We got a replacement for What About Brett Favre. Now it's What About Josh Giddey. And for those of you that don't know, Josh Giddey is some Australian NBA player. I think this guy's around 6'10". He's from Australia, plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I looked up his stats. I'd never heard of the guy, just being totally honest. But I looked up his stats, and he's a player. He averages double figures in the NBA. He's 21 years old. I think last year he may have averaged 16 points a game. Decent player. But right now he's caught up in some controversy as it relates to a girl that he was dating that's a junior in high school, and she may be 15, 16 years old. It's not a good look for Josh Giddey. But everybody's oh, my God. Malika Andrews is getting roasted because she's not talking about Josh Giddey, and they're playing every card in the book. They're bringing up who Malika Andrews is dating. There she is with her boyfriend, Dave McMenamin, who also works for ESPN. Malika has had some strong comments, I think, about, and I can't even, I'm missing the name of some black athlete where they, Ime Udoka. Yeah, she was critical of the Celtics coach who lost his job over, sexual impropriety with a coworker or whatever. She's made a little comment about him. Anyway, I want to read you Des Bryant's tweet. We're not going to play. She did a little short report. I want to read Des Bryant's tweet. Malika Andrews, you went out of your way to crucify. Oh, this is the other one. Went out of your way to crucify Brandon Miller, the Alabama kid, on draft something. Why haven't you said nothing about Josh Giddey? I advise you not to make this a black or white thing. Your parents really raised you wrong, and just because you went to a private school don't make you better. You appeal, and I know you're kind. You just a puppet. I don't know how a former or current NBA player could sit there across from you and look at you with some kind of respect. So Josh Giddey is the new What About Brett Favre. Listen, if it turns out that he was having inappropriate relationships with a 15-year-old, obviously that's terrible. Obviously, police should be involved. Obviously, he should be punished. But as of right now, I think he's still an active member of the OKC Thunder. I'm not sure what they want Malika Andrews to do. I'm not sure why we can't let the facts play out here. Kobe Bryant was accused of rape and continued to play throughout an entire NBA season. And no, that wasn't an underage girl, but there was an accusation of rape, and Kobe Bryant continued to play. We got to have a standard of justice here. And all of this micromanaging of, hey, is there enough outrage directed towards this person? And is it immediate? This all seems very gimmicky and foolish to me.
Well, sure. His last name now become Giggity. Shout out to all the Family Guy friends out there. Went all quagmire. I have a question for Des Bryant. Would you have the same amount of outrage for Malika Andrews if Giddy was black, though? Would you want that covered? Because when you say let's not make it, or you're talking about making it a racial issue or not, well, that's exactly what you're doing, because I get the feeling, just an assumption that I'm making, that if this was a black athlete, you wouldn't have had that tweet. Now, there's actually a point where I do agree with a lot of these people, though. If Malika Andrews is this feminist who cares about women's rights and the way men treat women, then yes, she should have the same amount of outrage. She should be calling into Stephen A. shows and trying to lecture and wag the finger. See, that part I actually agree with. Either you are a feminist that you care, but if it's a lighter shade of paleness, and if you're laying off, yes, they actually have a point, but they're both kind of wrong here. Number one, Malika, for not having the same level of intensity, but at the same time, only being upset at this on the opposite end because Josh Giddey is white. They're both wrong. Versus the flu.
No question, Steve, just trying to sort through my own feelings, because, again, I didn't know who this kid was. I had to look him up. When I saw the name, I'm like, I don't know. I don't follow the NBA like that anymore. And part of the reason is because, just quite frankly, and you call me a nationalist, call me whatever, it's the same reason. I grew up in Indianapolis. And once the Indy 500 started having all these guys from foreign countries with names I couldn't pronounce, I checked out of the Indy 500, and I used to be a huge IndyCar 100 fan. Same thing going on with the NBA. Luka Doncic, as much as I like to watch him play, he don't hit me the same way that Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, those guys that came with brands from college and were these great American success stories. It just doesn't connect with me the way that it does. And so I don't know if I'd have much passion if Giannis Antetokounmpo got into trouble, because he ain't an American. I don't care as much about the NBA. It's filled with players that straight out of high school, didn't accomplish much in college, or came from some foreign country. It's hard for me to get passionate about some guy I know nothing about. And so Ime Udoka, he's the coach of the Boston Celtics. I kind of knew who he was. He led a team to the NBA Finals, I believe. I didn't even know who Josh Giddey was. And to this, I still don't. I'm not sure if Des Bryant really knows. Who's looking for the OKC Thunder that much since Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook left? Anyway, not to make it see, I'm just keeping it real. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it's the double standard, no standard. We have no standards for me, but a double standard for you. And again, I want to ask Des, would you be having the same level of outrage for the non-coverage if this was a black athlete? But also for Malika, where is your level of outrage for an aggrieved female? Either you care about it at the same level or you don't. You're both wrong.
Let me say that what I'm about to get into, I usually don't get involved with.
Then don't get involved, you hypocritical bastard. We about sick of your hypocritical ass anyway. But I'll digress.
I'm big on supporting my colleagues and protecting my colleagues. But in the same breath, I'm also big on minding my own damn business when it's called upon to do so. And I'm certainly not trying to deviate from that in this particular situation. But there's a subject that I think demands participation from people in this industry, including myself. And that is this subject that's involving ESPN host Malika Andrews. Now, for those of you who may not know, and it's very few in the sports world who don't know at this particular moment in time, she's been getting some major heat, in particular from former NFL wide receiver Des Bryant for ignoring the situation involving or surrounding NBA player Josh Giddey of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the accusations of him having an inappropriate relationship with an underage girl. First things first, before I get even any further, let me tell you what Des Bryant had to say. Let me read that quote to you right now. Des Bryant tweets, Malika Andrews, you went out of your way to crucify Brandon Miller, the #2 overall pick of the Charlotte Hornets on draft day over something he didn't even do, wrote Bryant. Why haven't you said nothing about Josh Giddey? I advise you not to make this a black or white thing. Your parents really raised you wrong, and just because you went to a private school don't make you better. You appeal, and I know you're kind. You're just a puppet. I don't know how a former or current NBA player could sit there across from you and look at you with some kind of respect. Let me say this. Des Bryant, I miss him. I miss Des Bryant because I loved watching him as a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys for those 8 years he was there before he suffered that injury and came back and tried to resume his career in Baltimore, and that didn't work out. I respect you, my brother, but that was a bit extreme. You see, without trying to get too involved in it, I feel compelled to get involved because I think that a lot of people are missing the issue involving Josh Giddey to begin with. Josh Giddey is being investigated for allegedly messing with an underage girl. We don't know the facts. And because we don't know the facts, and we represent a network, we have to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we provide commentary to that. The investigation is ongoing by the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder refuses to comment on it. Josh Giddey refuses to comment on it. And as a result, all we can keep doing is reminding everybody the brother being investigated. He's from Australia. He's being investigated for messing with an underage girl. That's problematic. And the NBA is investigating because next thing you know, they may take some heat because people may be asking them, what are you going to do about it? If this was the National Football League, chances are he would be put on a commissioner's exempt list where he wouldn't be allowed to play until the investigation was complete. So getting on Malika Andrews about this, I believe, is off kilter. And it's a bit extreme. Bringing up her parents, her upbringing, some private school education. Come on, Des. What if she brought up your stuff? Come on, bro. It's not necessary. And the reason why this is a big subject to have is because I think that we need to do a better job of picking our battles.
Picking our battles, Stephen A? The battles you pick are primarily with the brothers. Who the hell you think you fooling? But I'll digress again.
Malika Andrews is a colleague of mine. There's no question about that. We got into our little tussle on the air after the Ime Udoka situation, or as that was brewing. She came at me in a certain way. I checked the situation the way I felt it needed to be checked. We had a conversation. Later, she apologized. I accepted her apology because I'm a human being and I make mistakes too. But we got folks coming at her all the time with death threats and other threats and all of this stuff. Why? Why? Let's talk about Brandon Miller for a second. I wish this brother nothing but the best. He can play, by the way. Was a star at Alabama last year. No problem with that. He was the #2 overall pick on draft night. In the National Basketball Association, he was going to be the #2 pick of the Charlotte Hornets. The city of Charlotte is considered the Bible Belt. What was his crime? There was no crime because the police in Alabama said they had nothing to arrest him on. But what was later learned is that last year sometime, in February before February, he drove a car that had a gun in it that his teammate ultimately got out of the back seat, handed to somebody else, and they ended up killing a 23-year-old young lady who is the mother of a 5-year-old child. And those two individuals, his teammate, Brandon Miller's teammate, and the person that he handed the gun to were arrested and indicted on capital murder charges. When Brandon Miller showed up in South Carolina, you'd have thought he was Hillary Clinton. They were screaming, lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. How in God's name does Malika Andrews not ask that question on draft night? She had to. I'm telling you, me or any other reporter that was in that situation has an obligation to ask a team, an NBA official, or somebody about that question. There's no wiggle room around it. If she hadn't asked that question, the bosses would have been wondering why she had that job. If I was sitting in her chair and I didn't ask that question, since after all he was the number 2 overall pick and he was getting drafted and all of this residue was just months removed, I would have been asked, why do I have my job? That goes for any journalist. So we have to take that into consideration. It's not about protecting Malika Andrews. It's about protecting the industry. It's about understanding and making you understand what comes along with this job. You keep thinking we have choices. We don't always have choices. You have to ask those questions. Now, there does come a point in time where you can stop. You don't have to bring up stuff from years earlier. That's true. But in the Brandon Miller situation, that was not the case. In this Josh Giddey situation, because the situation is so sensitive, you can't go on the air with a strong opinion, sounding accusatory, as if you're indicting someone when an investigation is still open. And neither the league, nor the team, nor Giddy himself, nor the alleged underage person is speaking on the issue. We don't know. We don't know. So in the end, Des Bryant, and to the Des Bryants out there, what I'm going to say is, mad respect for Des Bryant. Des Bryant is somebody we enjoyed as an NFL player. He could ball. He's a good dude. His heart's in the right place. And what he's really, really pointing to is the fact that as black men, sometimes we get a heavy hammer while others get treated considerably with a lighter hand. That offends us. That takes us aback. We don't like it. That's true. Malika Andrews is not guilty of that in this situation. She was not guilty of that in the Brandon Miller situation. And when you imply that she is, your argument falls on deaf ears because those who know better know not to take you seriously if you accuse her of that, because that means you don't know. And if you don't know and you're not taken seriously because your opinions are being dismissed because you don't have all the facts to support your position, when you really have something to say down the line, no one's going to listen. That is what we're talking about guarding ourselves against when we talk about issues. Make sure you're always in a position where you have at least some strong facts to support your argument. That way it always has potency. Because when it has potency, folks won't have any choice but to listen. Then you'll be heard. And then what you say will matter. Just something to think about. Just something to think about.
You know, this was a horrible take and response by Stephen A. Smith. I mean, he based his whole career on being uninformed. How many times have Stephen A. Smith gotten on the airwaves uninformed, speaking on topics? Now he wants to make a statement saying, well, people will believe you and what you say will have more potency when you had the facts. You know how many topics you spoke on when you didn't have the facts? You trashed countless brothers in the media without the facts. Now all of a sudden he want to lay his hat on facts when he didn't care about facts when he spoke on a lot of different topics. Stephen A., you keep continuing to look like a clown. And Kwame Brown exposed the mess out of you. Why you got a podcast all of a sudden, man? Stick to your ESPN job. Nah, you got that YouTube channel because Kwame Brown was trashing you. Exposing all the facts and truths about Stephen A. Smith. So Malika Andrews gets defended by Stephen A. Smith. But why hasn't Stephen A. Smith defended the black woman that was beat up by Chad Wheeler? Neither Malika Andrews, Stephen A. Snitch, or Jason Fatlock spoke on the fact that Chad Wheeler beat this black woman almost to death. They didn't come close to speaking on it. Malika Andrews, where's the support for the black lady that got trashed by Chad Wheeler? Where was y'all animus towards Chad Wheeler? Nah, Malika Andrews was too worried about accusing Jalen Rose of putting his hand under her armpit. Stephen A. Snitch was too worried about running Kyrie Irving out of the league. And Chunky Soup eating Jason Fatlock can't keep his head out of Deion Sanders' ass. It's like every episode that he drops on his channel is about Deion Sanders. But then he comes out with a Josh Giddey video after us content creators expose this fat ass. These individuals are such clowns, man. It makes me appreciate my YouTube channel even more because I get the chance to just trash these idiots. I love it. So now y'all want to come out and speak after us content creators done exposed y'all. That's not a good look at all. Y'all have no shame. So I'ma sign off. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. I hope everybody smashed that like button. It's SmashDaLikeTV. Come on, please smash that like button for me, y'all. And make sure you hit the subscribe before you take the next ride. Your brother Be Easy is out of here like Vladimir. Peace.